Tonight we discuss the rejection of a parliamentary motion with the aim of giving relief to tertiary students in Parliament. And of course, we are looking at its implication on both parents and students here on the show. My name is Prince Minka. Welcome to XYZ Tonight here on TV XYZ. The show is live and interactive on our various social networking platforms and also on Facebook, especially on TV XYZ and Wazor TV. Get interactive with us as we discuss this vexed matter of prime importance to both students and parents. This is XYZ Tonight. Welcome to the program. We're going to be getting perspective on this matter with our guests. We've got a representative from the National Union of Ghana Students and also Dr. Clement Park, who, by the way, has also lectured at the university before. Of course, a former member of the University Teachers Association of Ghana, but currently the Member of Parliament for Busa South constituency. Tonight, we'll get to hear him as well. And also a Member of Parliament from the Ashanti region, from the MPP side, will also be speaking to us on the program. But before that, let's give you a fair idea of what's the current situation really is like as far as COVID-19 is concerned. And you know, President Akufo-Addo addressed the nation last night, discussing, of course, indicating that he has reinstituted a number of restrictions that were relaxed some time ago as a way of curbing the spread of COVID-19. But here's how the Ghanaian situation is looking at this particular moment. Now, in terms of new cases, there's 794 cases. Now, if you look at the current situation in the Republic of Ghana, across all the 16 regions, there are reported cases of COVID-19 or coronavirus. And in terms of the active cases, Ghana currently stands at 5,358. In terms of the confirmed cases, Ghana is standing at 67,010. And then in terms of the recoveries and discharge, those that have been discharged, 61,236. We're currently reporting 416 deaths. So that's how it is looking. Remember, the Greater Accra region is topping it all in terms of the number of COVID-19 cases. So if you check out the map, Greater Accra, of course, taking out the lion's share with a number of recorded cases standing at 39,198. Now let's move to what our focus will be tonight. And of course, it's got to do with the motion by Mahama Ayariga, the Member of Parliament for Boko Central, as he put forward that all-important issue across in Ghana's Parliament. If we can just confidently move into the next slide and take a look at what has been happening in Ghana's Parliament. Remember, the Majority Caucus in Parliament have debunked claims by Minority National Democratic Congress, or the NDC group in Parliament, that it did not support the motion to provide relief to students of public tertiary institutions. That is one of the arguments that they are making. The majority has also refuted assertions from the NDC that it did not want to build consensus on the issue. Now remember, Mr. Alex Afenyo-Markin, who is the deputy majority group leader, said, he actually said this at a press conference in Parliament over what he described as a populist journey by the Member of Parliament for Boko Central, Mahama Ayariga. And he said that it's all aimed at courting public sympathy. Tonight we'll discuss that further with our guests. Mr. Ayariga, as you know, had filed a motion to request the President to take urgent steps to absorb the fees of students of public tertiary institution for the 2020-2021 academic year. And that's how it's looking as far as those developments in Parliament is concerned. And remember, the relief package was to include accredited private universities as part of a national COVID-19 alleviation measure being implemented by the government of Ghana. And also, on Thursday, the House, by a majority vote, rejected a motion on the grounds that from Majority Caucus that the government had already intervened with the fee-paying situation with other relief packages. We'll be asking Dr. Clement Park if that's really the situation and how that is also helping other reasons that they adduced was that the majority actually gave for rejecting the motion were that it was the motion was actually defective and lacked clarity and not specific with the release being sought. We'll be discussing that further as and when we move on as far as this conversation is concerned. Remember, you're part of the program. Join us with your messages as you watch us on Facebook. And if you're watching us on YouTube, make sure to hit the subscribe button so that you can be a part of the program. Anytime we are on the air, you get a notification. But here's Mahama Yariga's motion, and I'll be very brief with it. That the House resolves to request from the President of the Republic of Ghana to take urgent steps to suspend the payment of admission fees by new entrants of the public tertiary education institution and continuing students of those institutions for the 2020-2021 academic year as part of a national COVID-19 relief program being implemented by the government of Ghana. Now, he also mentioned that continuing students must also pay, and also indicated that it is important to the public because many people have lost their jobs due to the economic consequences of the outbreak of COVID-19. And we're going to be discussing this right here on XYZ tonight, right after that. Stay with us.
The average human body mass should have at least 60% water for optimal performance in any physical or mental exercise. We can help you maintain it naturally. X Natural Mineral Water. Simply natural. Peace of mind is very essential in your journey to success. For Akwesi Papa, peace of mind means having a proper covering over his family. Literally. For Araba, aka Injection Mama, it's about having the funds to complete her advanced nursing course. And as for Corporal Odami, it's as simple as reporting on time for his shifts. Sometimes all you need is a simple push. At Needs Microfinance, we have tailor-made loan packages for salaried workers under the Controller General's Department. With the low interest rate and quick wahala-free process, you are guaranteed of a timely solution to get back that peace of mind, literally in 30 minutes. Needs Microfinance. Growing with you.
Thank you very much for staying with us here on XYZ tonight with me, Prince Minka. Remember, the show is live and interactive wherever you are. Join us with your messages. The WhatsApp line will be appearing on your screen pretty shortly. And if you're watching us on Facebook, do well to post your comments there and we'll share them with the rest of the world. Now, Abdul Hassan Sise is a rep from the National Union of Ghana Students. And remember, they are the direct beneficiary of that motion that was presented by the Honorable Member of Parliament for Boko Central, Mahama Yariga for that matter. And of course, it was rejected by the majority MPs in Ghana's Parliament, or the MPP MPs in Ghana's Parliament. Let's discuss this and find out exactly how the students are feeling. And of course, they've been talking with their parents as well. What's the feeling really like as this motion was rejected. And of course, when the motion was presented in Parliament, exactly what were they looking forward to? Hassan, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
Good to have you. I hope you're doing well.
Yeah, I'm doing very well. First of all, let me say good evening to our cherished viewers, most importantly, the Ghanaian students who are watching us across the country, and also to all the youth activists and student activists that have supported us in this journey, and all those who mean well for us, especially Honorable Mama Yarga and his allies on the NDC or the minority caucus in Parliament.
I will come to exactly what you meant by Mahama Yarga meaning well for the Ghanaian student. But before that, what you just said goes to suggest that you had been following the conversation or the discussion or the debate in Parliament. Exactly what were you looking forward to?
Yeah, I must admit that from the word go, the National Union of Ghana Students has been following this with key interest. Just a day after Honorable Mama Yarga intimated that he was presenting such a motion, the following day, on the 21st of January, we presented a petition to the Speaker of Parliament in support of that motion, and actually telling them what we hope and he was hoping to see at the end of the proceeding. But it's rather unfortunate, very unfortunate, that it didn't go as expected.
It's obvious what the details of the motion really are. I mean, and for those of you who have not been following the discussion, we've just displayed to you on the screen what the details really were.
Exactly.
Now, per the conversations you've had with your colleagues, exactly what would it have meant?
Exactly. You see, when you look at the motion in its entirety, the Parliament passing the motion didn't mean that the government was the following day going to pay our fees for us. What it meant was that the president had a decision to make, which includes either paying the fees or in any way that he intended implementing it. So what we were seeking to see is that at least at the minimum, Parliament would approve that motion, so that when it gets to the government can decide if they were going to pay full, as the motion was stating, they were going to support us partially, by what percentage, 30, 50, 70, at least. We hope that at the end of the day, we were going to get something in the minimum to support the Ghanaian student.
So it did not matter whether the support was going to come in full or government was going to subsidize part of your admission fee or your school fees. It did not matter.
It matters, but the most important line is that at the end of the day, we would have appreciated the fact that there was some goodwill from the government and that some support came, whether it was in minimum or it was in full complement. But I must admit that first of all, what we were looking forward for was full complement of the fees being absorbed by government. But in any way that the relief should have come, we would have appreciated it more than seeing our motion crack down even at the level of Parliament of Ghana.
We'll get to the words, the descriptive words that were used for about the motion. But let's look at one claim that was made by the MPP MPs, that there is an ongoing program, or government had implemented a certain program of which you students were beneficiary of. Do you know of this program?
To be sincere, government of
and it's part of a COVID-19 relief sort of a program.
I must admit that governments in all sectors try with the free electricity, free water and water view to support the whole country in terms of COVID relief fund. But something specifically directed to the student, nothing came. Whatever that affected the student was what they seek to do with the private institution at the lower level, the junior high schools and all that. And that was a peculiar case. But directly affecting the lives of the student of this country, we started many fights even before we got to this motion. We started the fights like some of the components of our fees for last academic year, which we didn't use fully, should be given back to us. That fight is still on. We've not gotten to the end. So directly to the student of this republic, nothing came from government directly into the lives of these students.
You seem disappointed.
I'm very disappointed.
When I say you, I'm not referring to you as a person,
exactly,
but your group, the National Union.
The National Union of Ghana Students is disappointed first and foremost in Parliament, and then second to the majority caucus or majority group in Parliament, and then last but most importantly, the 5 members of Parliament from the majority group side, which debated against the motion on the floor of Parliament. And I must say that it is not for anything that the Hansard Department of Parliament has it as a duty to record verbatim the words of members of parliament on the floor of parliament. That is so that we can keep our members of parliament accountable to the words that they say. And I must admit that we were disappointed to hear from the leadership, the likes of Honorable Ose Chairman Sabonsu, leader of majority group, and his friends, his deputy, Honorable Alexander Afenyo-Markin, caretaker information minister, former information minister, Honorable Kojo Opon-Nkrumah, caretaker education minister, former deputy minister, Dr. Educhum, and then one member of parliament for Boise East or West, I can't remember. But the most important of all debates were the words that came out from the mouth of Honorable Kojo Opon-Nkrumah and Dr. Educhum. That we were very, very disappointed, and we take those words not slightly. Specifically for Honorable Kojo Opon-Nkrumah to state that the motion itself is defective. The motion does not cover entirely the student, both in the public and private institution, and so it is discriminatory. That we find unfortunate.
I'm sure he had basis for making such claims.
I wasn't able to get his basis, but I heard his words, and his words are what we can take him on for, because those are the public records, those are in the hazard, and those are the words that the student of this country heard. And so for him to make such a claim, we find it very, very betrayal of the student body, because in this country since 1957, when we gained independence, we have never seen a single government policy that has covered every single Ghanaian in this country. The free senior high school government is starting today. It's a very laudable policy, one that we appreciate in good faith. Never covered all students. The free electricity we saw in the run out to 2020 election never covered every household. The free water, nothing like that happened. And that is how it has been. Even Honorable Kojo Opon-Nkrumah, in his constituency, even when he became a member of parliament, there are still people in his constituency who do not have electricity as we speak even today. Is that discriminatory? Is that unjust? Is that unfair? How are we going to describe their situation in the words of Honorable Kojo Opon-Nkrumah? So that we take it not lightly at all. And for Honorable Dr. Educhum, caretaker minister, education ministry, who is a member of parliament for Bosonchi, for his words that day was very, very, very shocking, I must admit. And I want to say it clearly, I hope he is listening, that if this is how he intends to lead the education ministry, then he should be one that the student of this country would actually give him a run as he ran that ministry. For him to have said that he has spoken to some vice chancellors, and those vice chancellors have told him that the government absorbing our fees are not on their priority list, we feel that that is a betrayal, because at the end of the day, the fees we struggle to pay, the fees of subsidies.
Have you inquired from your vice chancellors or the university authorities as to whether or not those claims are true or not?
The basic line, as for authenticating those words, I believe that he is a member of parliament,
but
a man of reputation.
Nooks as a group, I'm sure this is of prime importance to you.
Exactly. So taking out the vice chancellors, the most important base is that you would have to understand the concept of paying the fees. When we pay the fees, it's the school that gets the money, and the sole beneficiary of those fees are our tutors and our lecturers. So at the basic beginning of this fight, we do not expect, knowing how government funds in this country takes long to disburse, for our lecturers and the vice chancellors to go in support of the motion. So for him to have sided with the vice chancellors against the student, we feel that that was the betrayal of the trust of the students, who are hoping that we could get a leader, a role model in Honorable Educhum, caretaker education minister. And so we felt that his concerns and the reason for supporting or rejecting that motion should have been based on what the students are saying and not what the lecturers
in wrapping up the conversation, the motion has been rejected. I mean, you are looking forward to this. You don't have it. The cases in terms of COVID-19 is on the rise. It doesn't seem like it's going anywhere. Exactly. In terms of hardship, we are confronted with it. Exactly. What's the current situation? Yeah, and what are you going to do about it?
Even before we touch on the COVID, I have to put it on record that as we speak today, over 800,000 to 900,000 students are still owed student loan transfer. Their monies have not been dispersed, although they have applied to and are beneficiary of student loan. All these students, their money is into some around 10 million Ghana cedis, are still struggling as we speak now to pay the fees. Those are the fights we will embark on. I just came back from the national executive
have your colleagues
council.
Have your colleagues been able to pay their admission fees and school fees?
In all sincerity, it is not all.
Do you have a large number of them doing so?
Majority of them have paid, but you see, majority have paid as we speak.
So
now.
Meaning with or without the motion,
that is not true.
Life goes on.
I'm now coming to explain. Majority paying doesn't mean we are safe, because you see, beyond the struggles that our parents go, majority paid from loans and borrowing money from families and relatives in anticipation that some of these reliefs will come where we can get money. Some of these student loans would have been paid where we get money to go pay back our loans and our debts that our parents have to go and incur because of us to pay for the fees. So all these were into anticipation. And beyond paying the school fees, it's also issues of accommodation, in which we face a challenge where even the rooms are not even there if you had money. So imagine a student who has paid fee, the person has no money to go and fight. And so let's come to the issue of COVID-19. As clearly you have seen.
And we are wrapping up.
Yeah, it is on the rise. We have dispersed team on grounds to go give us feedback as to what is going on. We've started getting feedback, some not really encouraging, some too are minimal. So we are blending all, and then we'll get a report on that, and then we'll furnish the media on
with your next line of action. I want to thank
exactly.
you very much, Hassan Sisse, for joining us. You represented the National Union of Ghana Students. We're talking to Honorable Dr. Clement Park shortly here on XYZ tonight. Don't go anywhere. Stay with us.
We are one man short. Should we invite him?
Yes.
It be old cargo.
Can I join you guys? Yeah.
Always drink fresh, natural eggs, mineral water.
You still got it.
Always keep hydrated naturally. That's my secret.
Manufactured with the primary aim of preserving nature's finest minerals necessary for a healthy mind and body. X Natural Mineral Water. Simply natural.
Thank you very much for staying with us here on XYZ tonight, here on TV XYZ, and also on Wazer TV, as well as, of course, our social networking platform, especially on Facebook, on TV XYZ, and across the world for those of you watching us via satellite. Dr. Clement Park is the Member of Parliament for the good people of Busa South constituency, a lecturer, of course, and former member of the University Teachers Association of Ghana. Doc, welcome to the program.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here. And let me say good evening to you and viewers. I'm fully aware that my constituents are glued to their TV sets by now.
Absolutely.
And so are my parents watching from Bolga.
Absolutely.
So it's always a pleasure to be with you.
And talk about parents. They would have been a direct beneficiary of this motion that was put forward by your colleague, Member of Parliament for Boko Central, Mahama Ayariga. Give us an understanding of what this would have cured?
Well, first of all, I think it is proper that we put matters into perspective. And as a member of parliament, and we always say that parliament is a house of records, if you will permit me, just to restate the original motion and the modifications that were made before the debate and then the vote, that unfortunately didn't carry the day. This is how the original motion was crafted. That this House resolves to request the President of the Republic of Ghana to take urgent steps to suspend the payment of admission fees by new entrants into public tertiary educational institutions and continuing students of those institutions for the 2021 academic year as part of the national COVID-19 relief programs being implemented by government. This was the original language.
The original language.
Now, when this motion was moved by the Honorable Member of Parliament for Boku Central, and if you like, seconded by the Honorable Nochu of Akachi South, it was said that the language needed to be fine-tuned because it was not specific. There were a few challenges. Some had issues with the use of the word suspend. On the basis of that, the Speaker called leadership to enter into a conclave. And a small team was put together to work towards improving the motion and to fine-tune the language so as to make it acceptable. And this was
to ensure clarity.
That is it. And this was composed of representatives from both the majority group and the minority group. This is very significant. And then when we talk about betrayal later on, this is the reason why many of us feel that our colleagues on the other side betrayed what we all believed was a call to national duty. Now, this was the motion that was debated upon and passed, and you would notice the differences in the framing of the language. It says that this House resolves to request the President of the Republic of Ghana to take urgent steps to absorb the fees of students of public tertiary education institutions for the 2020-2021 academic year and to extend support to accredited private universities as part of the national COVID-19 elevation measures being implemented by the government of Ghana. So clearly, you can see that there's been a modification. This is the version that was debated.
So words that were not encouraged were dropped.
That is it.
And which words in particular?
Well, see the replacement of suspend with absorb. You also now notice the inclusion of accredited private universities.
What did your colleagues on the other side find wrong with the use of the word suspend?
Well, they had said that traditionally that would have been very difficult to use within the context of a measurement. And the argument had been made that usually the state or government would absorb the fees. And so it made sense. And I would say that the proponent of the motion truly didn't see any significant difference between the two. But as somebody who was championing this, rightly so, on behalf of Ghanaian students, an advocacy that we all supported, he was magnanimous enough to stand down the word suspend and then to adopt the word absorb. And rightly so, during that deliberation of the smaller group that was selected to work on the motion to make it acceptable to all, which included members from the majority group, the idea of leaving out a certain segment of Ghanaian tertiary students, in this case accredited private universities, was also incorporated. So having done all of this, we were quite baffled that at the end of the day, our colleagues on the majority side still had a challenge in the passage of this motion, in spite of their own input.
In spite of the consensus.
Exactly.
In terms of the clarities that were made.
It was a clear betrayal. And let's face it, look, we just had a representative of the National Union of Ghana students.
They are disappointed.
And they should be.
Yeah.
I am disappointed. Many parents are disappointed.
In fact, they feel let
Many
down.
Ghanaians are disappointed.
In fact, he puts it bluntly. They feel let down by their members of parliament.
They should feel betrayed. And they have every reason to be angered. Because look, let nobody be deluded into thinking that the consequences of the pandemic that we are facing are not severe. People have lost savings. People have lost their jobs. People have sold their properties. There are no longer employment opportunities. And this is the same reason that government itself used to justify the relief package. I mean, how do you tell me that it is okay to provide free water and electricity, and then you tell me you have an issue, you have a problem absorbing the fees of the very same youthful group, the future leaders of this country? Simply put, I think that the majority group has demonstrated that it would always prioritize partisan interests over the national interest.
Is that how you see it?
It is obvious.
I mean, especially when Afenyo Markins argues at a press conference that there are, alleviating programs already, COVID-19 relief programs that are in place aimed at, helping students.
Prince, look.
You don't know of any such program?
I'm a member of parliament. In the 7th parliament, I was the deputy ranking member on the education committee.
Yeah.
And I'm very hopeful that I will be retained on that committee. And hopefully, if we are successful with our challenge of the legitimacy of the current president, I'll become the deputy chairman of the education committee of parliament. I mean, I still have that hope. But even so, don't take it from me. We had a student leader who was on DC before me. If there is such a package, shouldn't the beneficiaries know? I have not heard of any such package. I have not seen it, and I have not heard the students. But in any case, if you remember in the run-up to the 2020 election, the governing party, as we speak, had come out to announce that government was going to absorb the full academic fees of the free senior high school graduates entering various tertiary institutions. Do you even have evidence that has happened? Do you have evidence that has happened?
There's no trace of that.
So if this hasn't happened, what makes you believe that there's some
but at the committee,
there is some innocuous program somewhere that is supporting students in part of their effort
you were a ranking member
to survive?
You were a ranking member of the education committee.
Yes.
Did you do any follow-up to see if?
Well, this was in the heat of the election, as I can tell you. Looking at the date, I think it was December 2nd or so that this was announced. So obviously, as many will say, it was probably a political gimmick. We are yet to see whether it is going to be given effect or not.
Could that be what he was referring to?
Yeah, it is possible. But if that is the case, has it been implemented?
But is there not a program?
But has it been implemented?
Is it not a relief program?
We don't have time to pussyfoot. Look, students are in dire need. These are the future leaders.
Does it not suggest that government had plans or still have plans for students?
Look, we are in emergency times.
And even parents.
We are in emergency times.
Is this not an emergency program?
And if it has not been implemented, what is the value? We need effect.
But what shows that it wouldn't be implemented?
Well, you have the chance to speak to somebody from the majority group. Perhaps they will be able to tell myself and the good students of this country what our program is, how it can be accessed, and whether or not it has been implemented. But make no mistake, what happened is a betrayal of the Ghanaian students. It's indeed also a betrayal of the public talk about consensus building between, by and large, a parliament that is split almost down the line.
And that's what brings me to my next question. I mean, a parliament that is split to almost down the line, as you put it. A situation which, made people felt comfortable that even with a motion like this, there was no way the MPP MPs were going to bulldoze their way through, as we saw in the previous parliament. So how is it possible with your numbers that, it went the other way?
Well, you see, if you notice the way I began the narrative, work was done. Both sides were involved to fine-tune it, to make it acceptable. That made us to believe on our side that indeed, because of the nature of what Ayaraga was seeking on the behalf of students, because this was something that was going to benefit the totality of Ghana, because there is no family in Ghana that does not have a son or a daughter, a niece or a nephew in a tertiary institution. We didn't expect that at the last minute they were going to pull, quote unquote, a fast one on us. And you see, there is another factor that perhaps is not in the public domain.
That means you had your full trust in your colleagues on the other side.
Of course, because
regardless of the names they called you, even when you were in the position.
These are students.
And even they still call you
listen to me. These are students.
They use words to describe your motion.
These persons who are going to benefit were not going to be drawn from a political party. I know there are wards of NPP members who would have benefited, just like the Free Senior High School. Every Ghanaian student in the senior high school benefits. So we saw this,
but on hindsight,
as something that was a national priority. And I gave you the context.
I get the national.
Within which
I get the national priority.
We had hoped.
I get the national priority argument.
Yes.
But on hindsight, you would recall the sort of description they gave your motion. I mean, Matthew Opoku Prempeh, for instance, called it a populist.
Well, he is not one of the leaders. He is not a leader in parliament.
So didn't that in any way guide you?
We knew all of that.
Yes.
But in parliament, individual MPs, they rise and they make their arguments and they use the kinds of adjectives and nouns that they wish. That was his choice of words. But as I said, if you look at the nature of the motion, the persons who are supposed to benefit, clearly, I wouldn't understand why anyone would have a difficulty with this motion. And look, let's be honest. If you read the fine script of the motion, this was not something that was going to be an albatross around the neck of the president. The president still had room, as my young student leader activist indicated, to decide. It is a request. So, dear Prince Minka, we request of you to do this. You then decide. If the motion had passed, the president could have decided that I cannot meet your request.
That's right.
And these are the reasons why I can't meet your request. Or I can meet your request halfway. And these are the reasons. So, if not for political expediency and the fact that the MPP has decided from the onset, because this is the first major piece of work that we have done in the 8th Parliament of the Republic of Ghana.
Yes.
If not because they have decided that they say one thing and do another, I don't think that this should have been something that should have been contentious at all. We could have done this to show and give effect to the claim that we want to work on the basis of consensus. But you said, in hindsight, now we know. It means that we can't trust them. Because if on a matter like this, something that is supposed to benefit every Ghanaian student in the tertiary sector, they can do this, then, well, Ghanaians should be prepared.
Okay, Doc, just hold on a minute. I just want to remind our viewers that we're hoping to raise on the line Vincent Isafwa. Of course, he's worked with the Education Ministry before as a spokesperson and now a member of Parliament. We're hoping to raise him on the line. So we get from the perspective of the MPP as to why this particular motion was rejected. And now with the growing anger amongst students and, of course, parents, exactly what are the implications really? And that's a question I want to put to you, Dr. Clement Apak. When you listen to the student union, and of course, we've done a number of phone-in sessions on a number of our programs, particularly on our sister station, Power FM, you could actually tell from the emotions being poured out that parents and even students are angry at you politicians. They don't care as to who voted against or who decided to stand by the motion. All that they are looking at is a situation where they feel they've been let down by the political class again. Is that the actual picture? And with COVID still staring at us in our face and with school still in session, what would it mean going forward?
Well, I think the parents have every reason to be disappointed and to be abandoned. Their anger is justified. The disappointment that the students also have is justified because it is the role of the state, which is usually manned by those who have been given the mandate to ensure that we use the collective resource for the collective good. And that is what we believed this motion was trying to do.
Okay.
But it is also important, and that is why people like me are here, and other colleagues like the Honorable Ayarga himself, colleagues like the Honorable Ablakwa. It is our duty to now let the public know the particular group within the political class which has led to their inability
and
to benefit from what we believe they deserve. And that is the majority group
and
led by Chairman Sabonsu.
Absolutely. And as you point this out, what do you hope to achieve? What would it change?
Well, they are advocates. I mean, votes count. Elections have consequences. And we are members of parliament. We are definitely going to be held accountable sooner than later. But at least, in totality, it sends the clear signal that we have two major political parties in Ghana. There is the one political party, our political party, the National Democratic Congress, which would always work in the interest of the collective. And there's the other political party that would always put its own partisan parochial interests ahead of the national good. I think for me and for many, this is the picture that is being painted. And don't take it from me.
So the whole argument
from the student leaders.
The whole argument about consensus, reaching a consensus, is a charade.
Look, I have said it. Because if on a matter like this, the first major serious business that has been conducted in the short life of the 8th Parliament of the Republic of Ghana, having a parliament that is split down the line. Some may choose to describe it as a hung parliament. We can't even get the majority side to come on board after they had participated in the processes of fine-tuning the motion to support us in the interest of our students. What else can we agree on? So clearly, this showboating, you know,
but if you decide
showboating about consensus building, collaboration, and what have you, it is not going to work.
But I'm sure if you decide to retaliate and not deviating from the topic, because I know a number of issues of prime importance or similar importance will be put forward in Parliament. If you should decide to retaliate, then where lies the nation building we all seek to do?
Well, if matters are matters of national interest, like the issue at hand, I don't think our side would have a challenge. But of course, if matters come to us that in our assessment are not going to be matters which will be dealt with to enhance the public good and to benefit the totality of Ghanaians, and of course, when we say totality, it doesn't mean every single Ghanaian, but it will be a policy, a program, a proposal, a loan agreement, or a deal. We assess it, and if we are not convinced that it's going to be something that will benefit the totality, clearly we have the option of rejecting it in the interests of Ghanaians. So, for example, if you bring something like a rehashed Ameri deal in the form that it is a JAPA or PDS, you cannot expect us to support that, because clearly we have demonstrated before that those cannot be in the national interest.
And back to the students, now that they've out of their own way, of course, just as Hassan indicated to us, out of their own way, they've been able to pay for admission fees and school fees. Exactly what does it mean? It doesn't mean that all is over for them, because look, they are literally fighting tooth and nail to be able to do this.
No, it's not all over. You see, as a member of parliament, and if my colleagues will be honest, we get daily requests. As I said, there is no week
Has it ceased? No.
There is no week that goes by that I don't get a request from a student who has qualified to go to a teacher training college,
polytechnic,
a technical university, a university, a nursing training, an agric training, needing help. The requests are always coming. And it has always been so. Now it is being magnified millions of fold as a result of the difficulties brought upon us by COVID-19. So we members of parliament, by the nature of our work and the fact that we have to deal with the challenges of our constituents, we understand the need for the state to intervene in some of these matters. So the implications, quite honestly, are dire. The argument that, some of them have already registered, they are in school, and for that matter, the effect of the motion is not going to be that beneficial. It's neither here nor there. There is no reason why, even if somebody has paid, I mean, in any case, you know the source of the resources that the student got to pay.
Well, he indicated that
some have gone for
some
loans.
have had to borrow, yes.
Some have had to sell property. Their parents have all kinds of things. They've gone to loan sharks to take loans at exorbitant prices. The mechanism and the system is there for adjustments to be made, so that even that, if that had been paid, it becomes a credit.
So even if Parliament failed, can the presidency do something? Just hold that thought. I mean, think about that question for me as you provide an answer for us as I go over the WhatsApp console, read some of your messages that have come through. This one here says, the NDC should have worked harder in pursuit of the motion by calling for secret vote, or this would have indicated how serious the NDC MPs are. NDC members of Parliament have failed me. That's a message coming from Selam, who is watching us in Aguna, Sweden. Thank you very much, Selam. This one here says, please tell your host to exercise professionalism. Thank you. Thank you very much. This one here says, good evening, TVXYZ. Enjoying the show. Thanks for enlightening us, the citizens. I am really disappointed in the MPP group in Parliament. Ni Ivan sending this message from Dan Suman. Another one here says, hi. Of course, just waving at us on WhatsApp. This one here says, Dr. Clementa Park has hit the nail right there on the head. The MPP MPs failed in reaching out or helping build a consensus as they had advocated for. You don't mention your name. Richard also sends in a message from Takwa and says, good evening to you, watching your program from Takwa and enjoying the discussion. So now what should we do? We've gone for loans. How do we pay back? Ask the Honorable MP what we're going to do about it, because like you mentioned, the COVID is not going anywhere now. Even though there are talks about some herbal drugs being a cure and all that, COVID is not going anywhere, and the situation is bad. That's a message also coming in. This one here says, TVXYZ, thank you very much for those educative program. I watched your morning show, it was fantastic, and your evening too is just educative. This one here says, good evening, my name is Julia Friye. Of course, you're asking for something else. Thank you very much for your messages, and I'm hoping that you'll continue to send in more of them on the program. Doc, let's just move forward and again back to what we can do under this COVID situation in terms of alleviating the plight of not just students but parents as well, who have had to go in for loans as indicated by some of our texters. What is the way out for them?
Well, this motion obviously didn't go through, but it is still my personal belief that as a state, we ought to find the resources to alleviate the suffering of the masses. And one of the surest ways to do that is to support the students. Because if we do that, not only are we giving them an opportunity to continue their studies, but at the same time, we are lessening the burden of the parents. So, simply put, we can use one stone to kill two birds. Now, the executive has executive power. Although the party that has produced the executive, its parliamentary wing, has rejected this, there is no reason why the executive president cannot still take a certain action. So even in this regard.
So in as much as he suspends or reintroduces some of the restrictions, he can also, chip in this.
Definitely, because the program,
as a mechanism.
As far as I know, the program to absorb the cost of electricity and water is still ongoing.
Yes.
And so why can't this be added to that? In fact, this is what the motion is even saying. The motion was not crafted to say that this should be done in a vacuum. It made references to a program that was already unfolding. And argued that on the basis of these conditions, let's add this as part of that program. And I think that the motion was well intended. It was well thought through. Indeed, there was a genuine need, and all those who were expected to benefit have spoken. And that is why I felt disappointed that my colleague, the MP from Bosomtwe, the Honorable Dr. Educhum,
yes, yeah,
was rather making references to vice chancellors. I mean, the vice chancellors were not to be the beneficiaries. It is the students. I would have hoped that he would have championed, and this is why the students are angered. Because if you look at
regardless of whatever the vice chancellors had to say,
I mean, what role do vice chancellors have to play? Students are in need, parents are impoverished, a motion has come to absorb the fees. Vice chancellors are part of the management of the institution. In fact, as the student leader said, they are waiting for the fees from students as part of their IGF, internally generated funds, to run the affairs of the university. So why should the position or opinion of vice chancellors matter? Clearly, I mean, that was totally unnecessary. But yet this was one of the arguments that was advanced. And the issue of being discriminatory. I mean, when I read the motion, you saw clearly that it made references to accredited private universities.
That's right.
Even if the argument was that the motion should have reflected the totality of private tertiary institutions, that could have been amended.
It could have been affected,
But you don't use this as a basis to reject that. I mean, that is why the students, this is plain English language. That is why the students are upset. Because in their estimation, in their judgment, in their analysis, they truly cannot see any legitimate reason why the majority group kicked against something so humane in these very difficult conditions. And so, if the students are angry, they have every reason to be angry.
Do you foresee a situation where, and of course we've seen in the past, where National Union of Ghana students have had to go on demonstrations or with the aim of pressing home issues of importance?
You are reminding me of my own student days.
Would you encourage something of this sort?
Well, the students are citizens.
Because the body language tells it all that if care is not taken, that's the route they are likely to take.
The students are citizens. They have rights. As long as the action that they choose to undertake, or as long as the form that they choose to use to advocate and to canvass their interests is legitimate and is lawful, I believe it is within their purview. But saying this, you are drawing me back to my own days as a part of the student movement in the early 90s, where we were very active and the universities were shut down quite frequently. So instead of doing 3 years, we ended up doing 4 years at the university. So I can relate to that. But I am not going to tell them what to do. I mean, they are smart chaps. In this day and age, they even have more tools of social mobilization compared to our time. So it is not for me to say. I believe that they will know what to do if and when they decide that a particular course of action is what is going to get the attention of the powers that be.
But in your daily interaction with parents and students, what's your appreciation of how they navigate around all this in a COVID-stricken economy?
Look, there's a lot of anxiety. A lot of anxiety. There's a reasonable level of confusion. And a lot of people are even beginning to become hopeless. Because even if you have the skills, the jobs are not there. Those who have properties are selling off property. Even to get your property bought is a challenge. Your life as you know it is now constrained. So all of this puts pressure. It creates anxiety and it creates hopelessness. And that is why even when the state, even when government can intervene to reduce the stress, to reduce the anxiety, to reduce the hopelessness, to reduce the hardship, that is what we should do. I mean, what is the use of the public resource if it is not applied towards improving the well-being of the citizens? Actually, I don't get it.
Okay. Let me just bring in our viewers at this moment. Dr. Clement Park is a member of parliament for Busa South constituency. Remember, he also ranking member of the Education Committee.
Deputy ranking
Yes. Member for that matter. And hoping to be the deputy chairperson of the Education Committee should all go through for the NDC as they contest a number of seats in the just ended general elections. But to solve your messages quickly, this one here says, good evening to you. I personally was praying the president will close down schools in his address yesterday. I'm Dennis, a level 200 petroleum engineering student, but I'm still at home because all efforts to get loan for me by my aunt has been futile, and my only hope was that motion. But now it's obvious I have to stay home. Please, something needs to be done about this issue, and I'm just wondering what exactly can be done. That's your message there. This one here says the free electricity. I don't think it was true because I have been buying or getting credit for my prepaid. Osman sending this message from Kumasi, Nima. Let me move on to this one. This one here says, hi, good evening. I'm Samson Samari. The MPP MPs do not have Ghanaians at heart. All what they want is to put their party interest first. NDC MPs need not to go into any form of consensus building with the baby serpents, you put it. This one here is just saying good evening. This message here says, you're welcome. I'm contributing to this program. Thank you very much for introducing XYZ tonight to us. And you continue to say that we're watching with keen interest, but I'm not sure if this motion went to Parliament before election, the majority group would have betrayed the public. We will replicate their decision if election were to be held today. That's a message coming from Kamara Kozi, who is also watching the program. Just before we wrap up, this one here says, fantastic TV station. Keep on the good work you're doing. You didn't add your name as well. Plenty of your messages. This one here says, good evening. My name is Emmanuel Kumsen, UCC. I want Honorable to tell Ghanaians the implication of the one-man advantage that the MPP has in Parliament. Is it going to be the same old story as they approve whatever they want to approve and disapprove whatever they dislike, as in the case of this motion? Or there will come a situation when the one-man advantage will not be of any essence? That's a very strong question there coming from one of our viewers. Honorable, what's your answer to that?
Well, it is a bit more nuanced and complicated than it looks. In Parliament, for example, there are certain issues, certain motions, certain proposals, agreements that will require a single majority. And there are others that will require a two-thirds majority. And so depending on the issues that come, the dynamics could change. And also, you know, this is a novel situation. We've never had a situation like this before, where you have an independent member of parliament writing formally to do business with the side that we now classify as the majority group.
That's right.
But being that he is the second deputy
he's wondering
speaker,
if that's going to...
being that he's the second deputy speaker,
Yes.
If he's seated, in certain instances, he loses a vote. So it is something that is novel. So we are now trying to work through all of these things. And I must say that thankfully...
And I'm sure the fear is genuine.
Oh yes. Thankfully, we have a speaker who truly understands the workings of parliaments, not only Ghana, but globally. And I know he'll be able to help us steer through this uncharted territory. But Ghanaians should be reassured that the change that they voted for, it will be reflected in the 8th Parliament of the Republic of Ghana.
Honorable Dr. Clement Park, it's an interesting labyrinth you find yourself in the current Parliament, and we hope you'll be able to make your way out. And of course, in the end, Ghana wins. And thank you very much for joining us tonight on the show. Let me remind you that X Natural Mineral Water is always refreshing us and proud to be associated with XYZ tonight. Make sure you do grab your X Natural Mineral Water. And as you drink, remember, it's simply natural. That's our show tonight. I am Prince Minka. Catch you again on Wednesday. Good night.